Oh, my God.
Welcome into another edition of Trust the Process Live. As you can hear, Game of Thrones music bumping on our bump out speaker. Thank you to them for providing us with that. Also, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a Game of Thrones episode for you, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, we have to get into some Philly sports. Sixers, they finally got past
Before we
Boston.
Greatest opening song in movie TV history. It's the greatest ever.
Got to get into
Every time
Boston.
I get that chill when it starts rolling.
Phillies open up on Thursday.
One last thing. Right at the end of the game.
My God.
And then we have some March Meh-ness. There hasn't been much madness. I'm going to say March Meh-ness to get into. But first and foremost, Sixers take down Boston. Does it give you confidence going against those top teams in the East going forward, Max?
It gives me confidence against Boston at least, right? That's a good place to start.
Boston doesn't care.
Say what you want. Look, I'll be honest. I'm not going to fully sit here and say I'm confident against the Raptors. They still have our number. Boston has all of our numbers except one, the most recent one. Toronto has them all still. I will say this. I feel significantly more confident after this last week of Sixers game, regardless of them letting up 130 in regulation in Atlanta. That all aside, that's not going to happen in the playoffs, and if it does, we have much larger issues to take care of. All I'm going to say is that should we play this Boston Celtics at any point in this playoff series, I definitely have the confidence that at least we're talented enough. That team is slowly imploding. If they make it to the second round of the playoffs, they'll be in high spirits, but I think after one loss, like that could shift. Like Kyrie's been throwing shots at Brad Stevens for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you just get the feeling from that team. They blew a 18, 19-point lead in Charlotte 2 days ago. That's in the fourth quarter. That's not a second half lead. That's less than 12 minutes. That lead got up to 21, and then they blew it.
Did the Sixers just blow a big lead like a week and a half ago? We talked about it on this show. Listen, I'm going to give you one stat.
They blow big leads all the time.
The only stat
I'm talking about
matters.
the Celtics imploding and my confidence against them.
Listen, I'm going to give you one stat. 3-17. That's the Sixers' record in the last 20 games versus Boston.
What's the record in the last one?
If you have
What's the record in the last one?
Confidence
last one game.
After going 3-17. Listen, I could go outside.
What's our record when we have?
It doesn't matter. I go
Butler,
outside and play
Harris,
basketball with my
Embiid,
little
and
brother
Simmons.
20 times and beat him 17. He beat me one. Doesn't mean he's going to beat me anymore for the next 20.
Okay, well,
I
this
don't
Sixers team
hear
is a
that.
brand new look than the one that went 3-17
Stop
or
it.
3-16.
Stop it.
2-17.
Listen,
excuse
it's
me.
the
I keep
regular
getting my numbers
season.
mixed.
Teams take days off, games off. They lose
The
games they
Celtics did not
shouldn't.
take that game off.
So
Do
I'm
not
not saying
sit
they
here-
did. I'm
Don't
just
sit
saying
here and try to
it's
tell
a
me they
regular
didn't take
season
that
win
game
that doesn't
serious.
really mean anything.
It
Beat 'em.
absolutely means something. If the Sixers lost that game, you would be rightfully killing me and Jake up here. And just because they won, you can't shrug that off and act like it doesn't mean anything. This iteration of the Sixers is
I'll tell you
1-0
what.
and against Boston. That's all
Beat
I care
them
about.
one game in the playoffs, then come talk.
Okay, gladly.
Well,
see you then.
So you think that the Celtics are possibly susceptible? They're going to probably play the Pacers. Do you think the Pacers could beat them?
The Pacers are a great matchup for them. They play Boston really tough. I would be not only ecstatic if they won, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. That Pacers team, give them credit. And Nate McMillan, it's not Nate McMillan, it's Nate McMillan. I always get this. I always think
He's
Chris
right.
Mullen for some reason.
No.
I don't know why.
Chris Mullen coaches St. John's.
Exactly, and I get that mixed up, right? Nate McMillan is an excellent head coach. The fact that Victor Oladipo went down over 2 months ago, and they're still in the same place. They went down one spot because they were the third seed when this happened. But the fact they haven't plummeted down to the second tier of the East teams is a true testament to how good that team is
Or
and
how bad
well.
the East is.
Well, you could say that too, but Boston's included. Boston's underneath them. So if you want to say the East is bad, you're including the Celtics in there.
So here's what I'll say about that. The Indiana Pacers have a great coach. Not a good coach, a great coach. Nate McMillan has been good everywhere that he's been, okay? The
Portland
problem
would
is
kill for him right now.
Exactly. And he's never gotten his just due in terms of being recognized as a really good coach. I think they're having what you saw last year with Boston, which is one guy goes down and everybody else steps up. The Eagles had it when Carson went down and Foles stepped up and the team rallied. Same thing. Depot goes down, the next guy steps in and everybody steps up. Sometimes teams respond differently when their star goes down because when the star is on the floor, it's like, oh, you know, take my Lakers, for example. LeBron goes down, everybody forgets how to play basketball. But when you look at these other teams, Oladipo goes down, Kyrie goes down, the other guys rally around who's there and they play better. Do I think the Pacers can beat them? I think they have the coaching to beat them. Do I think they'll beat them? No. I think it'll be a competitive series, though.
Share and let us know what you think. Tell us if you think the Sixers are going to sweep the Celtics like I think they're going to. Yeah. E.T. doesn't like that one. But against the Celtics, Jimmy Butler was absolutely phenomenal down the stretch.
Big shot.
And then against the Atlanta Hawks, he kind of lost in the game, got burned on defense, missed a bad shot on offense, and what was really kind of just a mess to to end the game. Do the Sixers need to change their end game strategy?
Well, I will say the end game strategy of Joel Embiid trying to handle the ball and lose it twice in the last minute plus definitely doesn't work. So we can scratch that one off the list. I don't know if they necessarily need to change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? It's not always going to work 100% successfully, right? But at the same time, what's your better plan? I'm waiting to hear because until we had Jimmy Butler, we didn't have a better fourth quarter end of the game plan than this, and it's not ideal. I really wish that maybe Harris would get a little bit more involved at the end of games more regularly. But as of right now, yeah, I think you have to put the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands and kind of let him do his thing, regardless if you have these stinkers like we did in Atlanta.
So there's two components to this. Number one, which Jimmy Butler are you watching? Are you watching Jimmy Butler who wants a contract or the Jimmy Butler that will play when he gets a contract? The Jimmy Butler you saw in Atlanta is the Jimmy Butler you'll get once he gets paid. Because once he gets that contract, who's going to be jumping out of the window to go get a plus 30-year-old wing guard who can't blow past anybody and takes plays off when he feels like it? And he's a malcontent in the locker room. The Jimmy Butler who you saw in Boston is the guy playing for a contract. That's why they're in such a conundrum. The quandary they find themselves in is, do we want to give this guy who's shown and clearly he can play basketball a contract that locks us into him and then it doesn't work and then we have nowhere to go? I don't know. The problem you have is, who else are you going to go to? I've heard idiots say things like, well, you should let Jimmy Butler walk, lock in Tobias Harris, and then go get Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Which of those guys are going to give you any plays down the stretch? None of them, because none of them have ISO ability. Ben Simmons can't shoot, and we already agreed that Embiid out at the top of the key with the ball is a bad idea. So you need a guy who's capable of isolation scoring. You know who the Sixers, if they had half a brain, would go out and get? Bring him on back home, Lou Williams. Mr. Money Man Lou Williams.
I would love that.
Fourth quarter
score,
that's what he does.
We need a secondary option down the stretch. But like you said, going back to your analogy of wanting to get paid, playing for the contract and everything, the Jimmy Butler that wants to get paid is going to show up for the playoffs. If he doesn't, you know he's not going to get paid. So that's why I'm all right with the strategy. It's definitely not viable from now until the end of time. It's not like we have someone like Lou Williams and he's young and he's going to be our guy taking the last shot for the next 8 to 10 years. We don't have someone like that. So I'm all right with as many Band-Aids as possible to keep this fixed short term. But absolutely, this is something the Sixers need to take care of moving forward.
That's fair.
Well, the MLB season is fast approaching. ET, we'll start with you. What kind of Phillies, or what kind of season should we expect out of the Phillies?
So a lot of people have argued that the Phillies have an outstanding offense and an average to mediocre pitching staff. Sounds a lot like the team that won the 2008 World Series where Jamie Moyer led your team in wins. I don't even remember who the hell the last two guys in the rotation were because that's how awful they were. All you knew is they had Cole Hamels, Jamie Moore, and a hell of a lineup. And Joe Blanton, okay? So what do they have?
Mr. World Series.
They've got Pavetta, who's looked decent, very, very good this preseason, spring training, I'm sorry. You've got Nola, who's your stud, and you've got Arrieta, who looks like he might have finally turned it around. And I think a lot of Arrieta's thing is he's a guy who he reminds me of a guy who, when things are going well, when the defense behind him is playing well,
yep, absolutely,
he will pitch better. Yep. But when the team isn't playing well behind him and balls are getting by him and he's eating unearned runs and taking losses he feels he shouldn't have lost, then he starts to get behind in his pitches and doesn't put the same effort. I think knowing that you got Gene Segura out there, you've got Rhys at his right position, you've shored up that offense significantly and the defense for sure, giving him a little more run support. I think that changes the way he approaches the game, and I think you're going to get a better version. Not the guy that was the Cy Young winner back with the Cubs, but you're going to get a better version of what you got last year.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be the Cy Young just because he's not really.
He's not a dominant pitcher.
Yeah, he's not that, and he's not asked to be that because he isn't that anymore. But I absolutely think he can. What did he have that Cy Young year? Like 18 wins, something like that.
If he gets you 15 wins, that's a plus.
I was going to say 13 to 15. I think that's very fair.
He gets you 15 wins
with the run support.
Nola will be around 20
this year. And basically, it really does come down to that because you can see it. He's not a guy who really hides it well. When he's pissed, throwing the hat down.
He was throwing guys right under the bus.
Exactly.
You got to do better fielding the ball. I'm like, my man, stop giving up dingers. Stop giving up home run balls where guys can field it.
Like if you're not listening, you can see it on the field. Like it's going on in the game. It's not like something he gets mad about retroactively, right? So I absolutely think that the quality around him on both sides of the ball, even though he only plays one, I absolutely think it's going to contribute to a better mental state and hopefully, in theory, a better performance on the field consistently. I definitely think that Nola should be scratching 20 and Arrieta should be scratching 15, and you have 35-ish wins between your top two in your rotation. That's a pretty good start.
I think Pavetta gets you 13 wins on his own as well.
I'd be so happy. I think 13 to 15 is like absolute best case. If I can get 10 or 11 out of Pavetta and not like if I can get Pavetta going 11 and 8 for the year, I'm cool with that.
And get the rest of the guys around 500. Just don't be bad.
Honestly,
Let them make a move at the deadline. That said, my prediction for the Phillies, I'm going to give them 92 wins. 92 wins for the Phillies. I think that they are good enough to get 92 wins, which makes them a legitimate contender. So at that point, I think they win the NL East. I think they win it close, though. I think that the other teams in the division, the Mets, namely, the Braves, even though they didn't really do much in the offseason, have gotten a lot better.
I'm kind of high on the Braves. I don't know.
What did they do in the offseason to get better?
But they were really good last year. So, like, you know what I mean?
But is that fool's gold? And that's
Could
the
be.
question.
It could be. I'm going to go off what I saw last year, and I think the Braves are honestly a really good team. Like, they were supposed to be terrible last year.
Right.
They had a bunch of no names, and they came out and they pitched and
people
they
got a
hit
book on
all year. So I'm going to keep my faith in a team like that, kind of keeping it going. I have the Phillies in 94 or 95 wins. They are stacked. Barring long-term major injury to
60-day DLs.
Exactly. Barring like 60-day DLs or major injuries to key guys.
If Rhys and Bryce stay healthy, you're good.
Exactly. There's no reason we shouldn't be smacking the Nationals every time we play them. We should be handling.
Minus Scherzer, you're not going to smack Scherzer.
Oh, well, that's obviously goes without saying. The guy's still probably the best pitcher in the league, right? I mean, if he's not, if you're going to argue it, he's at least top two, or maybe top three at worst if you're really just trying to be an asshole and start an argument.
So, other than Bryce Harper, obviously he's the one who gets the most press. What non-Bryce Harper Philly do you think will have the best season?
I think it's got to be the one who gets the second most press, my boy Rhys Hoskins, because now he has other people that teams need to be afraid of, right? Rhys's numbers last year, 34 home runs, good. 96 RBIs, good-ish. 246 batting average, not that good.
Right.
But who else were they scared of? Odubel was hot for a couple months, and then he fell off the face of the planet. And after that, I never felt like teams really were scared or feared anyone else in that lineup. But having him and Bryce go back-to-back, and you throw Real Muto maybe at 5, or if you're feeling 2 or whatever, but he's going to be part of 3 of 4 batters with Hoskins and Harper at some point in the year. Probably all year, assuming that he stays healthy. And you just can't pitch around 3 guys at once. You know what I mean? You can't just put 2 people on base and hope you get the next one that's good, and then the 2 after and the 6 and 7. That's just not practical. So I honestly think that Hoskins is going to have a great year.
So I'm going to go a little bit different, and I'm going to go with Odubel Herrera, and here's the reason why. He was asked to be something he wasn't. They wanted him to be a top-tier player in an organization where he, at best, is your 4th or 5th option. He's not a guy you want to lean on to carry an offensive load all season. I think it took him out of his comfort zone and made him uncomfortable.
For sure. He's not the anchor.
I think being around a team where you see, Bryce is going to get a ton of attention. Hoskins is going to get his attention. You already know that Andrew McCutchen's going to take a lot of pressure off of you. And he's going to learn how to be a better fielder from watching McCutchen. I think it's going to make him better defensively from having that professional veteran, that guy who's been there, done it, been an MVP. And then also at the plate, his patience at the plate is going to get better because he's going to get pitches to hit, because you can't pitch around everybody, like you said. And at some point, they're going to have to pitch to him. If they manage to survive Hoskins and Harper and Real Muto, they're going to have to pitch to him. And that's where he's going to get pitches to hit.
Dude, there was one point in June or July last year, he was over 300. Like, the guy's clearly talented. Like, on paper, maybe he could be the superstar, but he doesn't. Everything gets to him.
Most baseball players.
Exactly. Early in the year and late in the year, when he was not doing well, like, he was responding negatively to reporters when they were questioning him. Like, you just really can't do that, and that's just who he is, and we can't really expect or demand any more out of him. But I totally agree. He should absolutely have a big year too.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments who you think the best non-Bryce Harper Phillies player will be this year, but we're at halftime now, so here is a word from today's sponsor, Project Dad.
Project Dad program is looking to work with non-custodial fathers 18 years and older with children under the age of 16 years old. Workshops include responsible parenting, healthy relationships, economic stability, and employer matching to help with finding a job. Project Dad believes it is important to increase the time spent between fathers and their children. Project Dad enjoys working with fathers to help increase their commitment to fatherhood. If you know any non-custodial fathers with children under the age of 16 years old that could benefit from Project Dad, please have them call today.
So if you know a non-custodial father that could benefit from these services, please tell them to visit peopleforpeople.org or call 215-235-2340. Moving right along now, we're going to move into rapid fire, talk about some March Madness. First and foremost, who has been the most impressive player for you so far?
Man, Everett Terry's been the most. Man, listen, have you seen my brackets? Listen, I'm top 5 in both of them.
Congrats on Oregon over UC Irvine.
Thank you.
I was extremely bent.
Top 5 in both of my brackets. I'm 5 in one and 2 in the other. I like where I'm sitting because, listen, styles make fights, and if you got a good bracket, you got a shot. If my bracket goes clean, I win both of them.
Good for you,
Everett
man.
Terry is his answer.
Best of luck. For me, I mean, like obviously you have your Zions, like who is really good for the most part. You know, if people weren't aware of who Taco Fall is, I'm sure you do now.
He's like 8'3".
I saw that guy in person a couple weeks ago. Temple played UCF to end their regular season, and it literally is comical. He's bigger than Boban. He is literally an inch taller than Boban, and seeing him next to other real people
Like Zion, he looked like a child.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's like me standing next to Zion. You know what I mean? Like that's what it looked like. Taco standing next to him. So I'm just going to shout out two names that people maybe don't know. People probably know this first guy, Brandon Clark on Gonzaga. He was a monster. I honestly had no clue who he was. I don't obviously watch a lot of Gonzaga. Sue me if you really want to. I just don't have it in me to stay up for those 10 o'clock college basketball tip-offs anymore.
In the Mountain West.
And the other guy I want to just give a shout out to, AAC Pride. My team, University of Houston, going to the Final Four over Kentucky. That's right. Oh, yeah. Corey Davis Jr., my man, is just knocking down threes. He's playing out of his mind, and I just want to shout him out. He's been Houston's best player through their first two games, and I like Houston making a little run. So.
Yeah, both good guys. I actually like Jarrett Culver, 29, 8, and 7 versus North Kentucky, and then he's the only Texas Tech player ever to have 16, 10, and 5. He added 3 blocks and 5 steals in that game versus Buffalo, so that's a pretty good line for him as well.
Definitely.
Guys trying to build their NBA resumes, man. It's a light draft.
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
And you know, the only pretty much real upset that we've had has been Oregon moving on into now the Sweet 16. And are they capable of making a run here?
Hell no.
Oregon wasn't no upset. I called that before the bracket started. First of all, listen. It doesn't matter. 12s always get through. But here's what I will say. Liberty was a bigger surprise because nobody had Liberty winning anything except people maybe at Liberty. So I'm going to go with that. But here's where I go. I think they have a shot, but I don't think they get there. I think, listen, at the end of the day, talent usually rises cream to the top unless they just have an off night. I think
or
they have
off
a good
couple
run.
years like University of Virginia does.
But I have them absolutely done this weekend. They don't get out this weekend.
Really, I'm surprised you didn't pony up and stick with your team, man. Look, all I'm saying is that if I still had UC Irvine in, I'd be balls to the wall that they'd beat Virginia whenever they play next. No, Oregon's going to get stomped. Yeah. UC Irvine, I was watching that game because obviously, like UC Irvine's my Cinderella team. I had them beating Virginia next round as well. So I was heavily invested in that game.
They're chokers.
Well, you could say that. I mean, they brought it back right after half to tie, and then they just went ice cold.
Chokers.
But I mean, down the stretch, Oregon was hitting some insane shots, but just like shots that you're not going to hit against Virginia. Like I remember watching one with Pritchard towards the end of the game, maybe like 5 minutes left in it. He's 5 feet behind the three-point line. There's 5 seconds on the shot clock, and he does the most half-hearted pump fake to his right, and the guy in front of him takes a full step, and then he just drains the long three. And at that point, I knew that game was over. Stuff like that isn't going to happen against Virginia. You're not going to go. You're not going to go 12 for your last 16 shots against Virginia like Oregon did against UC Irvine. So no, I think the only real Cinderella story left in this tournament comes to an uneventful halt whenever they play this weekend. Other than that, I mean, if we're really going to talk upsets, like what's an upset at this point? A 4 seed or a 3 seed winning?
No.
Exactly. So, maybe, if you're feeling saucy like I am, University of Houston, I'm sure it probably isn't a popular pick. But other than that, I mean, in a bracket where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, and every single one of them except for Oregon where it's 1, 2, 3, 12.
Right.
It's
and
like,
we don't think the 12's getting through. Who's left?
Exactly.
Right.
So you're playing, you're playing best teams for, which makes for a great tournament. Like
Agreed.
I like the upsets and all, but let's be honest. There's always one game when the run comes to an end when the
They get
team
blown
is just
out.
getting completely overmatched and they just lose by 25. And it's fun while it lasts. But I think this Sweet 16 and on is going to be a really memorable tournament, honestly.
Another 12 seed that made some noise was Murray State.
Had them getting past.
Led by Ja Morant. Ja Morant looked amazing. There were some
Triple-double.
questions about him. Did he solidify his place as the number 2 overall pick in the NBA draft?
I didn't have him as the number 2 pick to start. I had him as a top 3 pick maybe, and it really depends on who's picking where and what teams are looking at him. But I look obviously Zion and Cam Reddish RJ Barrett are going to go 1-2. Reddish is in the mix. He's a top 6, 7 pick. So it all depends on who. I mean, we saw Luka fall. Like the draft is so
depends a lot on
funny.
the teams
Who the
that are
teams are and who's there. It's not a strong draft class. I mean, even guys like Taco Fall, like somebody will make him a late first round pick, but I think at best he's a Boban for his career, despite how tall he is.
He's not a good basketball.
He's not a very good basketball. He's just tall as all hell. So I mean, it's just one of those
let's
things
be
where
honest, if
anything
you
can
can
happen.
dunk without having to even tippy toe, like you're in an advantage.
some use,
Exactly.
right?
You're getting drafted if you don't even have to jump to dunk. But anyway, I totally forgot what we were even talking about here. Ja Morant. I literally just spaced out. Ja Morant, you're exactly right. We don't even know the draft order at this point. We don't even know who's going to be the top 3 picks with this new lottery system and how it's weighted and everything. So you never know. Like, what if it's the Suns picking 2? Like, they're not going to take him. You know what I mean?
Why not? They need a point guard.
But do you think
Right,
do teams
Can
think
he
taking
play
is a
with
point?
Devin
He would get
Booker?
picked apart on defense.
Exactly.
Which also is the main word. I mean, he's 6'3", 174 pounds.
He's very light.
That gets
I mean,
annihilated.
Curry ain't big either, though.
Or
and-
Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae Young ain't big either. I mean,
6 and 11 versus Sixers. Clearly, it's not hurting him.
Exactly. So like you have to take these kind of things in advance. Like if he's there at 2, will the Knicks take him? Possible. Are they going to take?
why wouldn't they? Well, they got Dennis Smith Jr. Does
Exactly.
he fit? Now, you know what I mean? They just traded for him, so it all
Exactly.
matters.
So it really all matters. Who's picking where. What we don't even know trade like draft day trades are going to happen. Like for all we know, Dennis Smith Jr. is on another team in a couple months.
That's true.
And RJ Barrett and John Morant are the new Knicks backcourt. You know what I mean? It's way too early to say things like this. I will say John Morant did an excellent job solidifying himself as probably the number 2 guard prospect in the draft. I don't think that's really debatable. I think Barrett is definitely going to go ahead of him. If we're doing the draft 10 times, he's probably going 8 or 9 times before Morant out of 10. But I would say that Morant absolutely probably did maybe the most for his NBA prospects, other than maybe some of the guys.
Put a
who are still
triple-double
playing.
up in the tournament. People are going to notice.
People are going to notice. Exactly.
Absolutely. So, lastly, after last night's game, UCF was this close to upsetting Duke, couldn't get it done. Does it make you pause, and does it give Duke some vulnerability going forward?
Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, okay? So them almost losing doesn't matter because the same teams can blow teams out in the next round and get scraped. One game to the next. Styles make fights, matchups matter. I don't think it means anything. It's all about them matching up. I mean, listen, Tyler Fought, nothing else, is a body that doesn't let Zion Williamson do what he does well, and that's get to the rack. So you take that away, you take a part of their game away, which they're really strong at, and force them to play a different style of basketball. Shots got to hit. If shots aren't hitting, then the game's going to be closer than it should be. No different than any other team. I don't think it makes them any more or less susceptible. I still have them winning it all, like 85% of the brackets out there,
Guilty.
and they should.
All I'm going to say is I guess it kind of shows you the blueprint how to beat Duke, but what other teams have a 7-2 plus center that they
Right.
can just leave in the
Stand
paint
there with
all
his
that-
feet up the whole
Exactly.
time.
And also they have incredible perimeter defense. They closing out well. Like that's one of their trademarks as a team. UCF is like they just let Taco sit underneath the rim, and the
they
4 of
close
them
out.
just handle
Force it
everything
inside.
else that his hands can't reach. And that is Duke's problem. Duke is like one of the bottom 20 or 25 teams in the country in terms of 3-point shooting. That's probably because they don't need to do it a bunch because they dunk all the time and they're just blowing games out all the time. But I mean, yeah, absolutely the way to beat Duke, and that's the way people have been doing it all year, is
Force them
a
to shoot.
dominant big man, and you make them shoot outside, and that's their weakness. And I forget the kid on Virginia Tech's name. He's a monster. I believe he's number 18. It's like something. He's a long last name. I cannot remember the name for the life of me. He had a monster game
Skips
against
me.
Duke earlier this year when Virginia Tech was able to beat them with Zion. And
Producers.
yeah, please. Can someone get on that? Center on Virginia Tech. He's an animal. Shouldn't be long. Shouldn't be hard to find. But that's the way you do it. Like Virginia Tech, I will say at this point maybe has the best shot to beat Duke. They've already beat them. They can go back. They can look at what worked. And I say if Duke doesn't win, or if Duke doesn't lose against Virginia Tech, they should in theory cruise to at least the Final Four.
All right, well, that's all we have for Rapid Fire. We're going to kick it over to our producer, Sean, now to see what folks have to say in Facebook land. Sean, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Jake. Upon further review today is brought to you by Bassett's Ice Cream. Bassett's, serving joy to Philadelphia and since 1861. Viewer Zach Fidel writes in, what do you think is to blame for the Sixers' struggles versus Boston?
You don't want my answer. You know
I mean,
my
Brett
answer.
Brown is probably
Yeah.
a big proponent of it. The fact that Ben Simmons seemed to, up until this game, have really crucial turnovers in huge points and his inability to attack or shoot in the fourth quarter because of his lack of shooting has really hurt this team. But with the new form of the Sixers with 4 good players, you got Redick running around out there, I really do think that they pose a big threat to Boston. I do. Yeah.
So hold on for a
Boston
second.
still can't hang with Embiid. I know you're going to make some counterpoint. That's fine. I'll let you get to it. But like realistically, no one on Boston can slow down Embiid as a whole for 7
Horford.
games. He got him. I'm fine. Al Horford has to finally give out sometime. And the year that he turned 48 this year is finally the year that it looks like it's happening. Al Horford's a timeless animal.
37 and 22. What stopping did Al Horford do?
Yeah.
I mean,
He's-
Embiid always has decent games, but what I'm saying is down the stretch when he's needed key stops.
Al
that's when
Horford has
shows
absolutely
up.
had Embiid's number.
He's
over the
owned
last
them when it matters.
2 seasons, whatever you want to call
One
it.
of the few players, not the last game though. What else?
No, not
Sean?
last game, not at all.
We First of all, Kerry Blackshear is the Vatek center I think you were looking for.
Probably,
okay.
yeah, that sounds about right.
We also have a second question. Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement on Instagram yesterday.
Follow the Patriots.
Do you think
Look how happy
he will
ET is.
return, or do you think he's done for good?
No, go wrestle in the WWE with Brock Lesnar and what's my other guy that used to do MMA. Listen, he can stay away, go party, do New
Look at
Jersey
you. You
Shore.
are so happy
He can do
right
whatever
now,
he wants
bro.
to. Listen,
Look at you.
the torment is over. No more Gronk. listen,
You should be loving Gronk. He's the reason you guys scored on that lateral.
The evil empire is starting to crumble.
Oh,
Brady is starting to look human.
Gronk, Brady
Gronk's
next
gone.
year.
That's
Belichick
it.
The only
year
time you'll
after.
see all three of us happy at
Dolphins'
once.
dominance will begin in the
about that
AFC East.
Who's it?
We already
Ryan
got rid of
Fitzpatrick?
Tannehill.
Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, we got rid
Yeah.
of Tannehill.
Yeah.
Thank the glory heavens, the glorious heavens for that small miracle for getting rid of Ryan Tannehill.
Tua's up next, huh?
I'm happy to take Tua. We will make him our franchise quarterback, give him a 10-year
Does
rookie
Ryan Fitzpatrick
contract.
have more games with 4 touchdowns or 4 picks this year?
Oh, God.
Let me hear it.
Shit. You don't want to answer. Listen,
I'll call it a push. I'm saying
probably
3 each.
probably 3 each.
3 each. Yeah, I think it's a
and
fair
we
way.
finished 8-8.
Also, congrats on the Tannehill trade. I don't know what the hell Tennessee
got him for nothing. A bag of peanuts.
my
Great, take him. You can have him.
God, please.
He's not even going to start over there either.
No,
No.
but Mariota gets hurt all the time, so he
Yeah.
fits right in.
All right, it's not bad. But
Oh my God.
that's all we got. All right, thank you guys for chiming in. But now we're into tap outs. Max, what do you got for us?
I don't really have much. Kind of just a boring real world tap out tonight. I'm redoing my resume currently, and oh my God, it is so brutal. I never thought it would be so hard to just like copy and paste words that you have on one file to another, and it's literally killing me. It took me almost an hour just to find a template I wanted to use. So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna spend the rest of my night doing this resume thing. Hopefully, it's literally killing me slowly on the inside. Today's been terrible. I woke up, couldn't open my left eye. There's something in there. My back hurts. I just, dude, today is not my day. So my best advice to the people watching at home is update your resume every couple of months, because when you don't do it for like 2 years, it takes a lot longer. And there's some life
So
advice.
just send the information. I've got some connects that'll hook you up for the low. That's it. Anyway, my tap out's a little bit different. So I got into a really, I won't say heated debate, but a lively debate about who the greatest Philadelphia sports coach is. And my answer was the only one who's won 2 championships, Jay Wright, head coach of the Villanova Wildcats. And the argument began that Villanova is not considered a Philadelphia team. First of all, you snub-nosed, ungrateful Philadelphia fans who should have the all-damn audacity to turn your noses up at a university that's giving you something the other 4 in the Big Five haven't done in your lifetime combined. The audacity that you have to not recognize that Jay Wright is the greatest coach in collegiate basketball history in the city of the Big Five, and the fact that for all that it's worth, since most of y'all went to most of those Big Five colleges, want to sit here and say, oh, well, because they're up on the main line. They're literally 20 minutes from city limits. 20 minutes. You have a professional soccer team, 20 minutes, yet you glorify and praise them with billboards all around the city. Hell, the New York Giants don't even play in New York. Neither do the Jets, but people go around and walk about the New York Giants, not the New Jersey Giants, not the East Rutherford Giants or the East Rutherford Jets. So stop it with the highfalutin, I sit up on my white horse and I'm going to talk down and say Villanova's not a Philadelphia team. You know what? I hope to God the Philadelphia 76ers build a stadium in Jersey so I can sit here and watch you backpedal and laugh at how stupid you sound. That's my tap out.
All right, well, snub-nosed, ungrateful Philly fan here to tell you why they're not a Philly team.
my God.
Hey, E.T., does Philly have city limits? Oh, they do. Is Villanova in those city limits? Oh, they're not. They're actually, hey, I'm from Phoenixville. I'm actually from Philly. Did you know that? Yeah, no, Villanova's not a Philadelphia school. Just because they win titles doesn't make them a Philadelphia school. And Jay Wright had done nothing at Villanova. They were going to fire him until he won 2 in a row and got lucky. I don't want to hear that Villanova is a Philly school. They're not a Philly school. Temple's a Philly school. LaSalle's a Philly school. Guess what? Villanova, not a Philly school.
I hope Villanova disowns y'all and y'all can keep those loser schools that you've got that don't win anything.
Hey, you watch
we
it.
They don't even.
appreciate-
You watch it. Aaron
How far in the
McKee.
tournament
Aaron
have they
McKee is
win?
bringing glory back to the city next year. You watch it.
Yeah,
Appreciate
right.
they
You
go-
watch
they
it.
go to
Hasn't went to the
Geno
Elite Eight
Steaks, they
since
go to
when?
Geno Steaks
Well-
when they win, parading in Philadelphia.
Love Fran Dunphy, but this is
Listen,
the worst
who was at the parade for Villanova? I was.
I work on Market Street. That parade
All
was
right,
not
that's
lively.
all that
It
we
really
have
wasn't.
here
I felt
for
bad.
today. Thank you for watching Trust the Process Live on My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly, baby.
Oh God, get me out of here. I'm done.
University.
Why are we singing this song?
Fight.
For a cherry and a white, blah blah blah.
Fight.